Hello, everyone, and welcome back. If you did not catch the previous show on Bold Brave TV earlier, then you missed a great show because Maria is a powerhouse healer. She is the founder of the Invincible Wellness System. Who doesn't want to be invincible, y'all? And she's an author, a speaker, a single mom, owner of a private aviation catering company. She has a long list of accomplishments, and she's just a beautiful human. And you're going to get to hear some of those insights today. And more than that, she's been someone who has been an advocate for her own health and well being. And when I say that, I don't mean that like she had one ailment and then she healed herself of that, because that is amazing. Look, I'm not going to discount that. But she has not just been able to do healing on herself, she's been able to share these processes with other people and help them see results. And in life, especially when we are dealing with any kind of illness, sickness, unwellness, that's all we want. We want relief and we want to end the suffering. And so, Maria, thank you for being an advocate for ending the suffering that so many people are going through and letting people know that it's possible, because that's the part that I think for a lot of people, we talked earlier on the Bold Brave show about how, you know, oftentimes we'll go to a doctor or someone in our life will tell us, oh, you can't do this, you can't have that, you're this kind of sick. I liken it to those people who like lose a limb and the doctor's like, oh, well, you're never going to walk again. And they may not walk, but instead they might like build some contraption and suddenly they're like the world's number one cyclist, So the human body and the human mind can go so much further. It doesn't have to have the limitations that are thrown upon it, in the same way that for so many of us, I think we inherit beliefs, whether it's from our parents or the media or somewhere that we gathered this information, and we're able to defy some of those odds. And I love that, because you are an odds defier in so many beautiful ways. So I want to talk about that today. And we definitely talked about it on Bold Brave, but I want to talk a little bit more about it, because I think what's important for people to hear is, what is, when you're told something you can't do, right? So if you're told that, oh, when you're over 45, you cannot have children anymore, what is the thing inside you that says, no, actually, I don't believe you, and I'm going to go test that out? Like, was there, what's the thing for you? What shows up for you when someone says you can't, or you're going to be this sick of this thing for eons? Like, how do we help people like understand how to even start to think about that when someone says that to us?
That's a great question. I love that you asked that. For me, it's two things: history and God. Because the first thing, I'm very connected with our creator. Like, I don't care what people believe, something created us and it created us magically. And you know, I just took a big group of my graduates out on a boat last week, and we got stampeded by dolphins, like thousands, literally. And to where the captain was like, I've never seen this many. And I've been out on that boat about 20 times.
Wow.
And we sat there watching, and I said, right there, if you just look at one snapshot of nature, every aspect of it, and you think like, because dolphins and their magic, right? Their sonar, and like they're riding against our boat, and in a high speed, and in a half a second, less than a half a second, can maneuver to not get hit by the boat, right? Like how they can feel us all out there, and like just those little things. It's like, listen, we were created perfectly, and all that BS is just what it is. It's BS. Like, there's a difference between a time frame that is not logically possible, and a time frame that is. And so when I say history, I look back at like, what did people do at the beginning of time? And, I've, even since I was little, heard stories of women out in Africa squatting in their, out in the field and having a baby when they're 70 years old. And I'm like, if that's possible, then it means the body is capable and it's always possible.
Yeah.
Then, in America, we've gotten really far from like just even the concept of understanding our bodies and healing because it's so distracted by Western medicine and it's very distracted by holistic medicine, which I love it, right? Better tools for sure, less harmful. But if we can't get people off the systems, then what are we doing? And
Yeah.
so part of that is that mental belief. If we lose sight of that, then anything we hear is going to distract us and it's going to pull us in
Yeah.
so easily. And we're susceptible then to any kind of marketing,
Yes. Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah, because marketing has the power to instill what to think about. And so often what people think about is either pain or pleasure, because those are the two greatest motivators, pain actually being the bigger one of those. And so when that happens, I think that's where we see people start to go, oh, well, but what if?
You'll
And
see what
oh,
you'll see what you're made of real quick.
totally, totally. Yeah, I remember the doctors trying to put my mom on high cholesterol medicine. And my mom said to me, she says, "I don't feel like I should be taking these. I don't feel like they're good for me. I feel like they're really toxic. I don't feel." And I said, "You know what, mom?" I said, "Then for this next month," I said, "You filled the prescription. You tried to take one. You already decided this is not for me." I said, "That's your body telling you this is a no for you, and that's okay to honor that." She
Mhm.
did honor it. She goes back to the doctor a month later, and what do you think happened? Her cholesterol was just fine. So it was really interesting and fascinating because, in the doctor's mind, she took the drugs. That's what she's been on for a month, and that's why she's better. But in fact, she decided, no, actually, I don't want to take these and I'm just not going to. And I'm going to eat a little better, see if there's something else that I can maybe do in this process, get more good cholesterol to help offset some of those things, whatever it was. And it was nice to see that show up for her in a beautiful way. And I think that there's lots of beautiful miracles that want to show up for us. They're just waiting for us to activate our faith in so many big ways. And that's such an important piece of it. And it's just being, I think, getting into the mindset of looking for the miracles instead of being the person who's looking for the worst possible scenario. And I think that's just a driver for so many people. And it's just learning to switch gears, learning to switch those gears, because I mean, you're a beautiful walking miracle in so many wonderful ways. And I know that there's a lot of people that have been really positively impacted by your work that feel the same way, that feel like, wow, I can be so empowered with my health. And I tell people all the time, coming on the other side of breast cancer, deciding to heal holistically after surgery, all of those things, that I for sure, even more so, I go, wow, I trust myself even more. I am even more sure that God's got my back because of everything that I had to go through and how activated I had to activate my faith and in putting everything together. And I just went, wow, that's incredible. And like, what if more of us experience this level of freedom? Because that's what it feels like. I feel like I have freedom and I have choices that in a time where when you're going through something fearful and scary, might not feel like you have choices, and it's really easy to just acquiesce to what the professionals might be telling you. And hey, I love those professionals. There's a lot of them in my circle. And also there's the ability to listen to your body and also do some of your own homework and learn how your body works and operates, because we're all so different. We're all
Yeah.
just so different.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. I mean, I think that's the number one thing I heard in the last 20 years from people was that I gave them hope that they didn't have before. Because every person who calls us, whenever we used to do a heavy application process, and so they'd have to get on the phone with my team before they could even get even close to, working with me. And the number one thing that's said is, I've tried everything and I just have lost hope because, I might have done a lot of great stuff. I might have done a lot of holistic stuff and you're 2 steps forward, but then inevitably you're going to get 2 steps back because you didn't know how to do everything, right? So I realized that giving people hope really motivated me. It's really what drove me. And to your point about the mental game, man, it is for real. I can't tell you how many women called me, and their intuition was spot on,
Mm.
but their family was pressuring them.
Yes.
And inevitably they gave into the pressure and then they died
Yeah. Yeah.
because they didn't work with me, because they were
Mm,
like, no, we got to do this first. And I was like, oh, how do you tell somebody it's the hardest position to be in, to go, you're
it
going to die?
is.
And I don't want to tell you that.
Yes, it is
You
so
know?
hard. I remember when I got my breast cancer diagnosis, that going home and sharing that with the people that I love most, their first response was out of love and fear. And that response was, well, then we're going to hit it with everything we've got. And I was like, actually, yes, in a different way than I know they're actually thinking about it, because they're
Right.
thinking, oh, we're going to be on this road of chemotherapy and hair loss and the
Totally.
body getting sick and then having to build it back up. And I was like, no, actually, we're not going to do it that way. That's
Yeah.
just
When you
going
get
to.
a diagnosis, you're going to get the projection of everybody else's fears. And they do it out of love. They don't mean to. Like,
Totally.
I could write hundreds of books on this. I used to say I could write books on the psychology of health, because I literally became the person that everybody came to, and they'd be like I had one person who, and I never talked about these in 20 years. I'm doing it now because I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not doing it anymore. So now I'm more comfortable doing it. And because I've got a show coming up that's not related to health. And so I'm sharing this, like, this is a big deal for me to even say this, but I remember one of my graduates, her sister, um, wanted me to help her husband who had ALS. And, we talked 6 months before I got the phone call. We talked to them. He was like, well, they have this experimental drug. I want to do it. And I said,
Mm,
this is always the hardest position in the world to be in, because I don't want to be like the medical establishment that tells people you have however long to live. I hate that. I think it should be illegal.
mm-hmm.
And, but for me, I have to say, listen, your body can't take it. Like, you won't make it through that, because you don't understand medicine. People don't understand medicine. There is no medicine that's going to heal you. It always has to reroute something. It's
Mm-hmm.
just the nature of it. It's the only
Mm-hmm.
way. And so I knew with his body debt and where he was at, he wouldn't make it through that. And I said, I always tell people, like, you're going to call me on your deathbed. It's okay. I'll be here. And sure
Mm.
enough, his wife called me one morning, and she was, hysterical, Maria, and she has a sweet accent. I was trying to listen through that. And she basically said, I thought he took his last breath this morning. Is it too late? And I said, well, I always say, if you're still breathing, it's never too late. Because why wouldn't you do everything you possibly could, right? I
Right.
don't care if you're skeptical. I don't care if you don't know. For me, when I was healing myself, I didn't care about that. It was, no, I'm going to unturn every stone possible, right? I don't care, like, if it doesn't work. Then it's one step closer to knowing what does. And so I've always had that mentality. So I told her, let's go. I mean, we have obviously very little time. Let's hit it, right? Well, he was on a breathing machine. He was on tons of medications.
Mm.
He literally couldn't move his body. He had a contraption they sew onto you that has to basically spark your body, contract it to make you have a bowel movement, to let you cough,
Wow.
anything. Because he couldn't move his muscles. He was 100% atrophied.
Wow.
Um, and, I saw the pictures. He's in a bed, like the whole thing. He's home hospice because they were just waiting for him to go. And a year later, he's sitting up taking a family photo in his wheelchair. And he was still here 2 years later. And then, got lazy. His family, who wasn't on board and isn't supportive of that, was like, why do you got to be so strict? Go have this if you want to have it. Well, he ate something, sent him to the hospital, and, gone
Mm.
from the
Yeah.
treatment that they had to do for him. But in those 2 years, that was like, I would love to have shared that with the world, how many people it would have helped. But you can't share those testimonials in this space. It's just not safe. They
Yeah.
don't want to know about that. So
Yeah.
I've been the one who people come to for that kind of stuff, right? At that level. And you learn a lot about the mental game and how many people do things just out of pressure from their family. And when I empower them to understand why that's not going to work and why what's missing for them and what's needed, they start to understand it, and then they embrace it and they walk through it. So when I'm healing somebody, I'm not doing it I'm teaching you as we go. And that's what's missing. That's gravely
Mm-hmm.
missing out there,
Mm-hmm.
right? I kind of have been the rebel in the space, in the holistic space, because I'm like, no, that's not, you know, because I know for me, I would have never healed myself if I stayed on that wild goose chase that you go on, you know.
Yep.
Oh, fix your hormones. Oh, fix your digestion. Oh, do this, this, this. And it's like, no, that's not it. That's a part of the whole system.
Right.
And they all affect each other. So you
Right.
move one, you're moving the other.
Right.
And then if you don't support the other after you've just now modified your body,
Right.
like it's important, and how you do it and the order is really important too. But
Yeah.
I can just tell you, like giving people hope when they didn't have it. And I'm talking even with somebody with eczema or something that we would deem small, which
Mm-hmm.
actually those are the big things. Those are the,
Yes.
like you said earlier, those are the symptoms we ignore and we think no big deal,
Mm-hmm.
or we're told there's nothing you can do about it. You just got to live with it.
Right.
And that is another one that should never be allowed to be said.
Oh yeah, they give you steroid creams, they give you all
Just
kinds
that,
of
there's nothing we can do about it, and we don't know
yeah.
why it's there. I was on the largest autoimmune docu-series, and all the experts on there, we had floods of people come to us, and they said, because you said stuff nobody else ever has said. And we were like, what? We want to know more about that. And I was like, because I work at that level with the body. I listen to the body. I think how the body thinks, not how the human mind thinks, right? No
Mm,
different than like people have started to figure out and learn that a fever is there for a reason.
right. Right.
And like the reason you cook chicken, you cook it to kill off the bad stuff,
Right.
right? That's
Right.
what a fever is doing.
Right.
It's
Right.
killing it off for
It's
you.
killing
So
it
you
off.
silence it.
Right.
You just you literally put yourself in this position where, your body's not able to do what it's supposed to do. So little things like that. So when you think like the body, like for example, I always say everything that we think of that's a villain, like the body is never that way. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
huge thing with autoimmune stuff.
Mm,
No, it's not true. The body does not attack itself.
mm,
It's not designed for that.
mm.
Like we were designed in a way, every single thing the body does is a way of protecting us.
Yeah.
It's out for us. It doesn't have anything against us.
Right. Right.
you know,
Yeah.
like really.
It's
So
not
when we
angry with
start,
us.
yeah, and we start buying into this BS that like, oh, the body is, it's no, it attacks me, or I'm allergic to this. It's like, no, it's not the case. So I really get rid of a lot of the labels. And if you can start dismantling those words
Yeah.
and start going, what is it that the body is actually doing to save me and protect me? Then you can actually work with it, like actually work with it instead
Yeah.
of against it. So,
Totally.
that's a game changer. Those little
Absolutely.
things.
Yeah. Yeah. I even look back to, when I had breast cancer, the cancer was encapsulated, right? So it's the body has created a barrier around this tumor because it doesn't want it to spread in my body. And I'm like, that's why the body is remarkable. It knows exactly what to do.
Right.
So even with that, dealing with so much of the dental stuff that was in my mouth that was so correlated to the meridian lines of the body and the side of the body I got cancer on, the teeth that are the breast meridian, the cancer being right in line. I mean, there were all these links.
I didn't know you had the oral care component,
I
and
had the oral care component, and Maria, it wasn't just one tooth; it was two. I had had two
oh,
root
I know.
canals, both of them being on that breast meridian and affecting the breast organs. And as the minute I made the correlation, because I called my dentist, she was actually the one of the first people I called when I got the breast cancer diagnosis, and I said, "Hey, I remember learning a long time ago that there's a correlation, and you're a biodentist, so let's break this down." And she says, "Yeah." She goes, "Matter of fact, I'm looking at your chart." She goes, "Your recurrence rate could be high because it's both teeth are the breast meridian." And I said, "Thank you. That's going to help me make an informed decision because I'm going to go ahead and number one, I'm going to go have the dentist go
You go
back
take care of
into
them.
these." Yeah, because this was done from a regular dentist before I ever knew about holistic and biodentists. So the biodentist goes in, takes off those caps, cleans up everything from those old root canals, lets them breathe. I literally was missing two teeth for like months, and I was okay with it because it meant my life. And literally days later, I'm not even kidding you, it was 3 days later, I went to feel the lump because I had this very distinct lump under my breast that felt like a grape, and I couldn't feel it anymore. And I went, ha, ha, that's something. And when I had the doctor do the ultrasound, she couldn't find it either, but she's about to do surgery. And I asked her, what are you going to do? And she says, well, protocol says I would still do surgery on you. And I was like, wow, okay, this is so fascinating. And I said, you know what? That's fine. Peace of mind. I'm going to let you go in there. And I hope you find nothing. I hope it's all for nothing. That's what I hope. Now, it wasn't for nothing, but this was the beautiful part of it. That cancer was shrinking so much that they restaged me from a stage 2 to a stage 1 because of the size. And so for those of you that aren't familiar with cancer, they stage you and grade you based on different things. And staging is based on usually the size of what's happening in your body. So I went from a stage 2 to a stage 1. And it helped inform the rest of my decisions around my healthcare, around what I was going to do next. So when they tried to throw chemotherapy at me and the drugs, I was like, nope, I don't need to do any of that because this was already shrinking. It was already on its way out. And I feel really confident that this is addressed. And
Yeah.
and that's what we're talking about. Just that the body knows. And when they're like, oh, you need these hormone pills afterwards. And I was like, wait, why? They're like, well, we want to stop your body from making any, estrogen because that's what was feeding the cancer. And then I went, I'm going to let my body do exactly what it's supposed to do. And I'm going to trust that it's going to do. And you know what? My body went into menopause all by itself within a
Yeah.
year. And I was like, huh, look at that. I didn't
And
need a
honestly,
toxic drug for that.
you don't even know the connection and how deep it goes to. I've been teaching that for 20 years, how much root canals are connected with that.
Yeah.
And long before it became so known and
Yeah.
like talked about. But that's why I included my oral care in my program. It wasn't because I just wanted people to be independent. It was because I know that if I want you to be able to say, I'm invincible, you have to be able to check the boxes of everything
Yeah.
and know I don't have anything lingering.
Right.
And that's a huge thing. But also, so much of our oral care comes from our gut. And
Yes.
so when people don't realize what's coming from here up, then you can also handle that. Like you can stop it and head it off at the pass.
Yes.
But that's really, I always tell people, tumors aren't generally what take people's lives because it is exactly what you said. It's a damaged DNA. It's a damaged cell that the rest of the body jumped on top of like a football field
Yep.
to protect it and help your body take care of it and whatever it was, either getting rid of it or not having it spread. We all have cancer. It's just about what you're doing that's making
What
it.
your body is doing. That's right. Yeah, whether your body is fighting it and sending it off or whether your body is
Right.
saying, "Oh,
So
oh,
poisoning it more
that's right.
never going to help it,
That's right."
and I just can't tell you how many people I used to cry over it so much because I'd have this mom who was like, I need to be here for my two young ones, and then she was like, but I know this is what I should do, but my family's pressuring me. And I'd be like, well, listen, they're not the ones who have to live in your casket.
Right.
And they're also not the ones who have to lay in your hospital bed.
Mm.
Like at the end of the day, we have to learn how to make those decisions for ourselves and trust your intuition. And yeah, you might go up against it because people love you and they don't want anything to happen to you, but they don't understand.
Yeah.
And they're not the ones with the diagnosis. They're not the ones dealing with it. It's
Right.
you. You've got to make those decisions. So,
That's right.
it's really great that you were able to listen, to your own intuition, to yourself, even against, a bunch of people wanting to do it a certain way.
Of course. Of course. Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, it was such an activation of faith. It was such an activation of like, no, I'm confident. I'm confident in this, of knowing
Yeah.
knowing what I know, gathering enough information and trusting
Yeah.
my intuition around it. And even
You
with
stepped up and you slayed that dragon. I mean, that's, it takes
absolutely.
fortitude. I think that a lot of women get their initiation of like what we're capable of after you have a baby, and you kind of, a lot of us are known for, I mean, it's kind of a known thing that that's when we change the most in that
Mm,
moment. And women who haven't had one, it's different, obviously, but I just know specifically for that defining moment, most women find out like, whoa, I thought I was going to die.
yeah.
It's the worst thing I've ever gone through, but
Yeah. Yeah.
get
Because you
through it.
are
You're like,
you're
I'm
totally
capable of it.
yeah, you're totally faced with your mortality, number one, and it's a great reevaluation of lots of things. So
Yeah,
it's
for
remembering
sure.
that, it's definitely remembering
Yeah.
that. So Maria, there's so many people. I'm one of them. I do love biohacky things. I love cold plunges, and I love saunas, and I love red light therapy. I
Those
love
are all great. I
glutathione.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm very big on like not taking things that the body produces and instead learning how to make the systems in your body,
Mm,
produce it correctly.
okay.
Because anytime you're giving your body something that it produces naturally, like on a level that is needed naturally, not like magnesium where like we don't produce a lot of it, but in our day and age and culture, our lifestyles require more of it.
Right.
So that's something, I would supplement on how it's very
Totally.
critical. But other things that your body produces, like glutathione, like I'm like, why is it not producing it right? That's what I ask.
Mm,
Why is it there in the first place? And so, body hacking, I don't mind all the I call them accessories because you should, and this is what my goal is to get people to, is a place where if I go do those things, I'm not doing it to heal me. I'm doing it
doing to
to just
optimize.
take me to the next level.
Right.
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 So I don't rely on those. I use them as a tool at the right time in the right place. But so many people will get sent to those things as like their hope,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It might help a little, but it's not going to heal your body fully. It's going
Right.
to help things, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
I just get us away from being dependent on outside sources versus understanding this machine.
Totally.
Like when you can interpret it correctly, you can listen to it because a lot of people say I listen to my body, but your body's speaking Japanese and you only understand Italian. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So you got to learn a different language and understand what it's saying when it says things, and that's the big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Y'all,
That's
if
why I started the Primal Protocol because I was like, this is literally everything you need for your hard coding of your body.
that's right.
After that, you should be maintenance. You should just easily maintain yourself. It shouldn't be so much work.
Y'all, big shout out to my friend Maria Whalen, who's been a phenomenal guest today. Maria, thank you. Primal Protocol. She's taking a very small handful of folks through the next masterclass. If you want to get in touch with her, all of her information is down in the show notes. You can get in touch with her team. They do have a screening process. She wants to make sure it's a good fit and the right fit. And get healed, get your gut back in order, get your skin back in order, get your grays back in order if you so dare. Get rid of those wrinkles, all the things. And Maria, unfortunately, that's all we have time for today.
All
I
good.
love you
Thank you
so
so much
much.
for everything.
Oh my
I've
gosh.
got
Thanks
my
for being
sheepdog
on.
show coming up, and I can't wait to have Mary on it because you're
Oh,
just amazing and just such a joy, and you are just an example of joy. So thank you so much for
thank
all
you. Oh, thank you so much. All right, y'all. With that, if you did not catch our show on Bold Brave TV, it will be reposted here on the channel. It's so good. Maria is a wealth of information and a beautiful human. So check it out. Her Primal Protocol. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Thanks, y'all.
you. Bye.